All right, so I'm just gonna do this. Okay. Okay. Kind of nervous, everyone. I should be looking at the camera, yeah, because I'm talking to the people.
Yeah.
Okay. I know usually when we do these sort of videos with me, I'm kind of joking around and you know, making fun of stuff or being. I'll probably still try to do that anyway, but mostly I'm just gonna try to be serious and speak from my heart and because what I'm about to tell you, it's probably at the end of this you're like, oh, that's not a big deal, but for some people it is going to be a big deal, and I want to explain why I made this decision. So even if you think I'm an idiot or whatever, that hopefully at the end, if you take the time to listen to this, you'll at least understand why I think this is the right decision for Chase Bliss moving forward. So the big announcement today is, for the most part, we are going to be moving to a direct-to-consumer business model instead of through stores. And that's a really radical departure for us, because as of now, most of our sales are either through distributors or the dealers. And I've been really going back and forth about the best way to try to communicate my thoughts on all this, because I have lots of thoughts, and I ultimately think this is going to be great for the average Chase Bliss customer. But I just feel like if you can stick with me, I just want to just really just try to give you all the information that went into this decision for me. And so for me, I just want to like really start from the beginning. So I started this company in 2013, and you know, I'm an engineer, so I know how to design pedals, but I've learned everything about the business side of things when it comes to Chase Bliss just as I've gone. And so the first pedal I designed is warp vinyl, and it's you know, our pedals have been kind of known to be complicated, you know, with the dip switches and all that. Like, you know, you see the dip switches and it looks complicated, but actually I think some of our earlier pedals were pretty straightforward, in the sense that you know, you have a classic analog effect that you know, that you know, like, went through my mind and my had my taste, but at the end of the day, it's an analog effect that's digitally controlled, and I think most people can wrap their head around that pretty quickly. So I always thought I would want to sell my products through stores. In fact, it was incredibly exciting for me. Early on, 2013, just put it on the website, started to get some conversation and traction on different forums on the internet and on social media and things like that, and they started to sell a little bit. So, and I just remember so vividly that time where I would get the email when someone would order something from the store, and I couldn't believe it. It's like every single time it happened, it was so exciting and made me feel so good. And I still remember people's names from like probably the first 100 warp vinyl orders, that if they order something now, they're just baked into my memory, because I just remember that evocative response of like seeing the email and order and stuff. I'm getting super rambly, but it's just how it's going to be, because I just really want to explain everything from my perspective here. So that was happening, and then, you know, started to get approached by stores that wanted to carry these pedals that I made, and it was just incredibly exciting. and obviously very few people knew about Chase Bliss at that time. And so the more stores we could get the pedals in, I say we, but at that time it was just me, you know. It was good because more people would see them and wonder what they are, because they look kind of crazy with all the, you know, all the controls on them. And so it was a learning experience right away, because I had to raise the price a bit. Warp vinyl originally was $329, and I kind of didn't realize what pricing needed to be, so that, you know, when you sell a store something, you don't sell it to them for the end retail price. You sell that to them at a discount, so that they can sell it and make some money, because they have to make money because they're a store. And then so that, you know, we went along like that, and it worked great. People learned about the brand. The pedals were complicated, but not that complicated. Like, you could wrap your head around them, or at least the concept, the digital brain, analog heart. And then I was introduced to this concept of distributors, where sometimes it makes sense to send one entity lots of product, and then they have access to a lot of stores, especially internationally, where they sell. So, you know, this company buys a bunch of stuff, and then they sell it to stores. Then again, though, with that, for a distributor, you have to give them more of a discount, because they have to buy it from you, and then they have to sell it to the stores. So again, it you know, at the time it made sense. This is actually brings up a good time to talk about one of the exceptions that we're having to this change. Is we have this this ridiculously amazing distributor in Japan that knows our pedals as good as we do. They go into our YouTube channel, translate our videos, get us in magazines and stuff. And, you know, we went from selling hardly any pedals in Japan to selling a lot. And so that's an example of it making so much sense that we don't want to mess with that. And there's some other weird exceptions that I'll circle back to, but this is basically what's happening. Okay, so all that's happening, right? And so then the company starts to kind of change a little bit. And what I mean by that is that I start making some friends, and start to collaborate, and start to make some devices that I would have never come up with, and frankly are kind of weird and complicated. And you know, our pedals have never been for everybody, right? So you know, if you take just a musician off the street and explain one of our devices to them, it's like, you know, it might not be for them. But we're moving like more and more in this direction. And so we've been seeing this phenomenon, especially in the last couple of years, where we've tested it out actually. Like there's just a lot of our stores that just, and again, I don't want to make it sound like we have some amazing stores we work with, and like I'm so grateful for a lot of it. But this phenomenon that's developed is a lot of the stores selling our pedals just like don't really know much about our pedals. So if there's a problem, if they have a question about functionality, or even maybe why they might be interested in our pedal compared to something else that's available, they just kind of don't know, and in some cases don't really care. And I don't want to be negative, because again, it's like there's been so much positive about the relationship, but it's just, you know, as things evolved, it's time for a change for two major reasons. And and I really hope I'm covering everything. But the first reason is that, I've kind of talked about these layers. When you sell a pedal to a store or distributor, they buy it for less than you do. And now we see, all these problems with the supply chain and the rising cost of parts and the rising cost of labor. And we're at this like pressure point where we really need to raise our prices on our products. And like, for me, it just feels unacceptable. Like I know like one of the big things that people think about with our brand is that our pedals are expensive, and they are expensive. And so the thought of raising prices more to make this model work that I think is kind of broken for us is just unacceptable to me. So I don't want to raise prices, and this is one way where we don't have to. And there's going to be some other cool stuff I want to get around to later that I think will make it even cooler for the Chase Bliss customer. And so, yeah, I don't want to raise prices. And in some cases, I want to make it easier and more affordable to be able to get Chase Bliss pedals, especially if you live outside of the US. And then the other major thing, and this has been happening, I've been feeling it for a few years, where as we grow and as we're adding employees, and I think we just had our 21st employee, and like 2 years ago we had like 5. And I'm starting to feel like this is as much people as I can like personally handle. And I know there's probably someone watching right now that's just like shaking their head and is like, Joel's not cut out for business, but I want to know about everybody that works here. I want to know what they like. I want to know what songs they love. I want to know their kids' names and and I can do all that now, but I can feel it starting to slip a little bit in a way that I'm really uncomfortable with. And at some point it just occurred to me that I can choose because I own the company, and I don't have to follow this well-trodden path of just hire more people or like go overseas for cheaper labor, and make just like race to the bottom with components, and prices are going up. Let's choose a cheaper component that's maybe not as good in this critical area that I care about. And I'm just not doing that. Because ultimately what it turns into is you have this pressure as things get bigger to make products that are more appealing to more people. And that's what I feel creeping up inside me. And so when Knobs or Charlie or Tom, when they come to me with an idea, especially Charlie really likes ring modulators, and I just think, like, I don't like where my head goes. It goes like, well, that's not going to sell because we have so many employees, or it's not that it's not going to sell. It's like, it's not going to sell enough. And I hate it. I don't want that sort of calculus playing such a big role in my head, where it's like, there's all these people that work here and depend on us making things that people want to buy, that we can never swing and miss. I want to be able to swing and miss, and maybe make something every once in a while that is just not for everybody. Well, everything's not for everybody, but really kind of more of like a thing that won't make sense to people now, but maybe it will in 10 years. And I just feel like this allows us to do that because we don't have to worry about selling 1 million of a thing. We can everything's on our terms. If we just want to make a certain relatively smaller amount of something and just be like, hey, we're gonna give this a try. Let us know what you think. This is why we made it. I feel like I'm losing that freedom, and I hate it. So those are the two big things. It's like I don't want to raise prices, and I don't want to just slowly turn into this company that just, ultimately, makes something that is just really normal and it's already well covered by the industry, you know? And those are the two big reasons. And the other thing is that I just feel like, I feel like I know there's more people to meet that might be interested in buying our stuff, but I feel like we've already like met a lot of them too. And one thing I really want to change is I want to like really strengthen our relationships with our customers and also provide like the best support imaginable. And I think we're already really well known for having like really great support in the industry, but I want to triple down on that. I want to be able to have a phone number that people can just call and talk to a human and ask them any question, regardless of how silly they think it is, or have, you know, some kind of like chat option on the website where you know, you can ask questions and, you know, respond to comments on social media. Just really, you know, it's like we know you're out there now because you're buying our stuff, and it's like I'm weird, you know, maybe you're weird, and let's just like be weird together and cut out the middleman, you know, or that's just what it feels like to me. And okay, so now I'm going to talk about I feel like that's like the reasons why. And now I want to talk about some exciting things that I think that have gotten us really to rally around this idea, because we think we can make a better experience for you. One major thing that's happening, and you know, some of you know Tyler, our sales manager, and this was totally his idea, and this kind of been like a lifelong dream for him. So, you know, company's called Chase Bliss. That's exciting for me to be able to be a part of this. But him and his partner are going to move to Amsterdam, and they're going to set up a direct hub for Chase Bliss. So that means that if you're in the EU, you're not going to pay any import taxes or duties or customs. And I have more plans for the rest of you that don't live in the EU, in the US, so just wait. But also, if you have a repair, you don't have to ship it back to the US. You can just ship it to Tyler. He did repairs before he started doing sales, and we're training up him and his partner Liz to be able to do all that and to help with it. And the other big thing we want to be able to, well, actually we already offer this, but we want to make it like really well known, is that we have this 30-day just no hassle return policy. So as soon as the pedal lands with you, regardless of where you live in the world, you have 30 days where if you decide you don't like it or don't want it, all you have to do is send it back to us. And we have so many options now without the store stuff, because so many of our decisions are like, oh, this is going to upset, you know, stores. But like those pedals that people try and return, you know, we can't sell them as new again, but we can do a B stocks sale where you get a percentage off, but you know that those pedals aren't brand new, like someone has had them and returned them or whatever. But for that return policy, all you got to do is return it within 30 days. And as long as it's not like mangled or whatever, we're just going to give you a refund. And again, you know, Tyler being in Amsterdam makes it easier to get things to us because you don't have to ship it. I know I already mentioned that. But the other thing that we're going to do for everybody else, and I want to make this as high of a percentage as possible ultimately, but right now where we're at, if you live somewhere outside of the US or the EU, on our site we will have calculated what your landing cost in your country is going to be. Because some feedback we get from international customers all the time, and I totally understand, it drives them crazy, is that they'll buy something from us and then they'll get these huge import taxes and duties that they have to pay. And I mean, it's not us charging it, it's the laws of whatever country you live in, but it's kind of a mystery sometimes, like how much that's going to be. And it's frustrating because it can be a lot. So what we're going to do is calculate that all. We've confirmed with with some different tools that we've been using that we're able to pretty much figure out what this is. And we're going to calculate on the website, and we're going to pay for half of that. So, and this is, I hope that it could actually be more than that, but at least to start, like, that's what we're going to try. And so if you have, you'll be able to see, this is what the import stuff is going to cost. And then we're going to just pay for half of it. And then, you're going to pay a little bit more, or, it's not a little bit more sometimes, it's significant. But then it's paid. So then when you get it from us, like we've paid for all of that stuff, so you don't have to worry about paying anything more if you buy from our website. I'm not sure. I'm sure there's people out there that are doing maybe something like that, but that's an idea I think we're pretty excited about, because we just want to make it easier for people to be able to try our stuff, even if they don't have a store around that might have it. But like, that's another thing, is like none of our stores have our stuff anyway, because we've been so backlogged for the last 2 years. Like, we used to go to trade shows to try to get more stores or whatever. In the last 2 years, we haven't even accepted any, because we can't even get enough product out to the stores that we have. And that's a whole separate thing where, a lot of people watching this will be like, well, you're going to sell less pedals, and I think that is probably true, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not being obsessed with growth and taking care of the people that we know like our stuff, continuing to innovate and try to make stuff that's interesting for y'all, and just kind of be mindful about what we're doing and enjoying what we're doing, and not just doing things because it seems like it's what we're supposed to do. I feel like that's pretty much it. I'm probably forgetting something, but I'm also gonna, write up a thing to just kind of explain all of these changes. But I think that, the main takeaways, I hope, is that ultimately, if you're if you're a customer outside of the U.S., it's like kind of the same thing. If you might have been buying your stuff online anyway, now you just buy it from us. If it gets sent to your house, free shipping like always. If you don't like it, just ship it back to us. It's not that big of a deal, than not, having a store to try stuff out. And because at least if you're like me, you kind of you don't really want someone, I'm insecure and shit. I don't want someone like looking at me play guitar and like turning the knobs. I want it like in my house, in my rig, in my studio, so I can like try it and know. And if I don't like it, I'll send it back. But yeah, so for the US and EU, ultimately, with Tyler being in Amsterdam, it's just going to kind of be, the same thing. And hopefully, if you're outside of those regions, you'll be paying a little bit less for, our stuff. And that we already have great support, but we're gonna have better support. It's gonna be easier to get in touch with us. And if you have a question, we want you to talk to us, because we know everyone that works here. They know the pedals, and so it became sort of impossible for the average sort of employee at one of our stores to even know like what Habit does. That Habit's a good example of it's not the typical pedal. and we're gonna do more stuff like Habit and maybe weirder, but also there's plans for typically Knobs does the weirder stuff, and my stuff's a little bit less weird, but Knobs is filming right now. I can see him kind of nodding. I'm not sure if he 100% agrees, but anyway, I think I should probably just be done talking now. I hope that, like I said, even if you don't agree with this decision, I hope that you can at least see why I want to go this route, and hopefully respect my choice here, because I think that this is ultimately going to lead to more fun and happiness for me and the people that work at Chase Bliss and our collaborators. And I feel really good about the decision. So I hope you do too. Thanks for listening.